it accelerates the processes of decomposition, especially with hyperthermia, because part of that process, as a person is trying to compensate for the elevated body temperature, the circulation is sort of rerouted, if you will. Blood vessels dilate in the periphery to allow you to get rid of excess heat. Sweating occurs, and that usually comes at the compromise of circulation to our gut. And so even in persons who are living, they tend to have some underlying gut pathology. And that can also allow the bacteria within our gut to get out of our gut and get into our body tissues. And a person who's live could also present to a hospital with sepsis because of that. But for me, looking at a deceased person, when that process begins while the person is live and it continues after death. So therefore, the movement of bacteria out of the gut into your tissues allows for the acceleration of decomposition. That is further accelerated because of the higher body temperatures. And so the bacteria thrive in those environments. And so in this particular case, I was able to see changes to her body that it would have normally not seen had she been maintained at a normal body temperature.
What happens to the body temperature in a situation like this?
In hyperthermia, well, especially in a child, it rapidly changes. And so normally, we exist around 98.6, let's say. Kids have a much larger body surface area relative to their mass. And so they have a lot more surface area that can rapidly heat up, especially if they're placed into a very warm environment. A car like that, even on a mild day, anywhere from like 70 degrees to, let's say, 95 plus, can get very warm on the inside in a rapid amount of time, even if the car had prior air conditioning running prior to being turned off. So within a 20 to 30 minute time frame, temperatures can exceed 115 degrees up to even, studies have shown up to 140 degrees. And so a child in that environment will rapidly begin to have an elevation of heart rate. They will have an elevation of breathing. Their body is trying to get rid of excess heat. And in doing so, it puts an inordinate strain on the heart. It leads to incredible rapid losses of fluid, so they will begin to dehydrate very rapidly. And it leads to derangements in electrolytes. And because blood flow is being rerouted to just support the heart, the brain, the vital organs, other organs like your gut, your kidneys begin to shut down, and you begin to have organ failure. And if that progresses, the heart itself usually stops, or you have a dysrhythmia.
What other type of organ damage would an infant experience who is experiencing hyperthermia?
It will affect almost every organ in the body, from the skin to the gut, but most importantly, the vital organs, the heart and the brain, are compromised. The brain especially, because we have loss of oxygen due to, as the pressures drop, because your body is massively dilating blood vessels to get rid of excessive heat, that leads to decreased perfusion of vital structures in the brain. And a child's brain is different than our brain. It requires more per minute volume of blood flow because their brain is developing. And so there are certain brain regions can become hypoxic, and that could lead to irreversible brain damage, even if you treat this child and you resuscitate them from this presentation. But again, the most vital organs that sustain damage will be the heart and the brain.
Would the brain swell?
Yes.
Body temperature would obviously raise. What would be the temperature that it could go up to?
Sure. The body will move up to whatever temperature is within the car. I mean, so generally death will occur prior to a person going above 10 degrees. Your organs will shut down. But even after a person is deceased, your body temperature will match that of its environment if it's there long enough.
So if the vehicle were 120, the body temperature would go to 120. If it was 130, it would go to 130.
That's correct.
One moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Doctor, I think that's all that I have. I tender the witness, Your Honor.
Very well. Cross-examination?
Good morning, Doctor.
How are you?
You and I have spoken before.
Yes, we have.
Okay. I want to ask you a couple of questions about your career up to this point.
Sure.
I think you told us that you went to Rutgers University and then to, I guess, a medical school that was there, correct?
Yes, Robert Wood Johnson.
I missed the date that you graduated. I'm sorry.
I graduated 2009. 2006, my PhD, 2009, my MD.
And did you become certified as a physician at Rutgers or in Florida?
So 2009, I completed my, actually it would have been 2009, I completed the first two steps of the US MLE, which is the United States Medical Licensing Exam. 2010, during my first year of residency, I completed the third and final step of the United States Medical Licensing Exam. After completion of my residency in 2014, I then became certified in anatomic pathology and neuropathology. And then following year, I completed my forensic pathology training, and so I became board certified in forensic pathology, and that should have been 2015.
When did you come to Florida?
Came to Florida 2013.
I think you told us you were the assistant ME in Fort Myers, I believe you said?
Yep, started out, I was hired as an associate medical examiner, and then within, I think, 2 years, I became the deputy chief, and I was that up till 2022 when I left.
So you've been doing autopsies or in this field of pathology since about 2013?
Autopsy since 2009 when I started residency. Yep.
Doctor, you mentioned something about being board certified, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You have what's called a CV. Do you know what that is?
Yes,
Do you have one?
I do, yes.
Okay. In that CV, do you list this educational background that you have?
Yes, yeah.
Do you also list any articles you may have written on
Yes.
this subject? How many do you think you've written?
Abstracts, I've published probably 25, and articles is probably close to, I'd say 15 to 20, I presume.
How many?
Probably 15 to 20, I presume.
15 to 20?
In that
Okay.
range, yeah.
These are articles that are published in some type of medical journal?
Yes.
Do you recall what journals those were?
They vary. They're pathology journals, neuroscience journals. I even have a journal of veterinary medicine as well.
In veterinary medicine, you said?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Is that standard for individuals in your field to do that?
Yes, more so, I'd say, for those of us who have that PhD background, because we sort of come out of a research area. But yes, it's very common for doctors to publish.
Are your articles ever cited by other doctors?
Yeah, I believe they are, yeah.
Is that a common practice as
Yes.
well in your
Yeah,
field?
yes, it is, yeah.
Right. So things like writing articles and having your articles referenced or cited are things that are common in the field of your
Yes.
field and generally in science in general, correct?
Yeah, that's how we progress medicine, yep.
How you progress medicine. In other fields as well in science, correct?
That's correct.
Doctor, in this particular case, I don't know if you gave us the date. What date was the autopsy done?
July 21st,
And the child died on July 19th?
July 19th, yeah.
Right. Would you agree with me that when you examined Araya Page, she had no signs of any injuries?
Correct.
No, what I would call trauma. Is that correct?
Correct.
Define that for the jury. What's trauma mean?
Yeah, sure. Trauma, we tend to break it down into blunt trauma versus sharp trauma. And our blunt trauma encompasses all injuries like abrasions or, say, bruises or contusions where a force was applied to the body or body tissues. That it also includes fractures. It includes hemorrhage within body temperatures, like tissues, whether it be a bruise in the arm or even a hemorrhage within an organ. Sharp injuries include, cutting, cuts from sharp injuries. Lacerations tend to fall under the one category as tearing of tissues. Those are all the types of injuries we would describe.
And I think the state asked you how many times you may have examined children, done autopsies on children, correct?
Yes. Of my, probably well over 500. I mean, I started out training at the Penn and the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, so I had a lot of exposure of infant autopsies in the early part of my career, and that's continued. I'd say probably what we see as medical examiners, maybe 10% of our cases are pediatric cases.
10%?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I wrote down that you said that you believe you've done 4 autopsies of children that were left in a hot car.
That's correct, yeah.
Now, when you say that, you mean in the district that you were in at the time, correct?
Yes, so that's from my time in Miami through Fort Myers and, of course, Gainesville.
And how many medical districts are there in the state of Florida?
There are 25.
So you've worked in 3 of them,
Yes.
and you've seen 4 hot
Well,
cars.
I've worked in more than just 3. You know,
Okay.
we kind of move around a little bit, but yes.
Okay. Are you aware that there's more than that in the state of Florida?
Yes.
Is it a common thing, would you say?
For children left in hot, not common, but I know it does occur every year. Yeah.
I want to ask you about something you said toward the end of your testimony. I wrote this down, and if I have it wrong, you correct me, okay? You said, even on a mild day, and I think you gave temperatures between maybe 75 and 90 something. I don't recall exactly what you said.
Yeah, so there has been a number of studies that have been performed. I think of the largest one out in San Francisco, looking at the differences in internal car temperatures on cars left within or in exposure to full sun, and temperatures ranging from like 72 degrees up through I think 96. And it didn't really have a difference with regards to how rapid temperature can increase within a car. And even in mild temperatures, you could still achieve very high internal temperatures.
Okay. So just to make sure I'm clear, you said there were studies that have been done.
That's correct.
That even on days when the outside temperature is somewhere between 72 and 96,
Yeah, that's correct.
you can have a child or someone die in a car, correct?
Correct. Right.
And you also said that based on these studies, a car can become very hot in 20 to 30 minutes. Is that correct?
Correct.
Let me ask you generally about the studies that you referred to. You, like every other doctor, relies on other people's work to form your own opinions, correct?
Correct.
You never did your self-research on these hot car deaths in the sense that you did research on your own.
No, I have not.
So you, like every other expert, you rely upon things that you read from other people, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
That's true about a lot of what you do.
Yes, very true.
I think you said in that same part about the 20 to 30 minutes, you said the temperature can reach 115 degrees. Is that what the studies show?
Right. Well, yeah, it can certainly get above that high. I know some studies have shown temperatures even reaching close to 150 degrees. I don't know the correlation between that and the external temperature, but certainly whether it be mild or temperatures above 90, they can certainly get into the 115 range in a short period of time.
In 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah, correct.
And I think you told us earlier that death for anyone would occur at about 110 degrees, correct?
Correct.
And that's at the max, right?
Yeah, that's, again, the even temperatures, mild external temperatures in a normal heat of summer, it puts a stress on your body to have increased temperature regulation. So higher than normal temperatures are a stress to our body.
I just want to be sure I'm clear. So you're saying at 110 degrees at a max, a person would die?
If they're kept in there for a long period of time, yes.
Okay. And they could die at a lower temperature as well, correct?
Sure.